First, I'd like to introduce Dave DiPietro, our assemblyman from what's the number of the district?
147.
The 147th district.
Thanks, Carl. Hi, everyone. My name is Dave DiPietro, New York State Assemblyman. I'm here today. I represent Erie and Wyoming County, Southern Erie and Wyoming County. I'm here today to endorse Carl Palladino. Carl has been a friend of mine for a lot of years, and Carl has helped me like he's helped thousands of people in this community, and I appreciate what he's done, and I want to support him. Western New York is hurting, inflation is skyrocketing, and gas prices are still very high. We need to send a businessman to Washington who knows how to fix problems. We need a fighter like Carl who will not back down to the establishment and will be our voice. People are tired of DC swamp, and Carl will hopefully go up and clean it up. He's a businessman. I am a businessman. I was a dry cleaner for over 30 years, and 30 years before that is where I grew up with my father and my family. I employed over 10 people. I know what it's like to get shut down, to be attacked by the state, to have employees, to pay a payroll, to not get paid myself, to make sure everybody else was paid. And Carl's the same way. And that's one of the big reasons I support Carl. He signs the front of the check. He helps his people. When everyone has a problem, Carl is there. He knows how to handle business. He's very successful at it. We should all aspire to be like that. So I am going to endorse him. I have the most conservative pro-Trump record in New York State Assembly or Senate or of any elected state official in New York. I am proud to have won the Conservative of the Year award from the New York State Conservative Party 4 years in a row. This year will make 5. That hasn't been done in New York State. When you combine it with, I have won the American Conservative Union Award as the most conservative representative in all of New York State for the past 4 years. That's the national conservative group. When you combine that award with the state award, that's never been done in the history of New York State. I'm very proud to be the most conservative state, federal, local official in the state, and have been for years. I can tell you there was no one better in the state of New York on Second Amendment issues than Carl Palladino. He's a lifelong NRA member and is the only candidate for Congress that is suing Kathy Hochul for her unconstitutional attack on the Second Amendment. And I can tell you that unequivocally because I am the Second Amendment liaison in the Republican Conference for New York State. All Second Amendment issues go to me, and they have been for 2.5 years. Besides being a Second Amendment huge supporter, before that, I am now the conference liaison. I deal with all of the gun groups. That is my job. And I can tell you, 10 years ago when the SAFE Act hit, I was with the NRA in New York day after day. And the astonishing thing about that was the NRA nationally said, Dave, they told me personally, we are out of New York State. We don't think we can be effective in New York State anymore, so we're pulling our resources out of New York State. And I've talked to them every year, usually 2-3 times a year since then. And they have not come back in, very little. They said other states, they have a better chance at putting their Second Amendment issues to the forefront than in New York. I support the NRA. I support all of these firearm and Second Amendment groups. I'm glad to see that the NRA actually has come back into Buffalo or into Western New York today for an endorsement. But I can tell you, they did not come back in for the gun owner. So I humbly ask all Republicans and conservative voters in my district to vote for Carl Palladino on August 23rd. Send a message to the swamp in Washington Carl, I have your back. I'll fight for you. And I want to thank everyone for coming. If there's any questions, I'll take them. If not, Carl, he's a people person. He fights for the little guy. He fought for me. A couple years ago when I had a certain issue, Carl was there. I didn't even have to ask him. He said, if you need it, I'm going to be there, and he was. And that's what he does for a lot of people. And I've seen it firsthand, and that's why I support him. Anybody else? Thank you.
Well, we're here today, I think, to talk about Washington, D.C. That's at the center of all the issues that are sitting in front of us in the selection of who our congressman is going to be. Washington is a mess. I think the people of the 23rd District are generally not satisfied with their government as they're watching it operate today on any issues. The issues that confront the 23rd District are generally the same issues that confront every district across the country. The disappointment of the people is illustrated in an apathy and in a reluctance to engage. And it's disappointing. From my perspective, I will bring a voice for the people of the 23rd District to the Washington swamp. In doing that, I guess I have to get by this primary in such a way as to not belabor the idea of who's standing behind me. And I say frankly, I decided up front to self-fund this race and not to seek funds from anybody else in the district. I did that so that nobody could say that anybody had a special in with Carl Palladino. I know how important the question is to the people in the district about who stands behind the person. In the case of my opponent, he's supported by a super PAC, a PAC that has a number of rhinos as their founders and participants like Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, and others who just don't quite get what the people want. The super PAC has donated approximately $900,000 to Nick's campaign, and I think that's just tragic. For a man who's been a politician all his life to take special interest money, it begs the question of what is he going to do when he's in office? Is he going to owe these people? Is he going to do special things for special interests? Is he so beholding that he's going to be owned? Those are the questions that come to my mind. I believe that we have a very important question in this election, and I believe the people will take it seriously in selecting who they want to vote for. I'm a person, good or bad, who doesn't necessarily yield my interests to any special interest. There are plenty of them around. If I had the ability to go to Congress, I would act as my judgment would tell me to act. I think I've illustrated in the past what my judgment is on a lot of issues. I think the people know me. I think they understand me. And I believe that I can be the best voice for them in Washington. We have a lot of problems confronting our country today, not the least of which is the gun issue, climate change, our foreign relations, all very carelessly handled by the present administration. And I believe that when it comes to an issue like guns, there is a reasonably effective element right now trying to impose themselves on the ownership of guns, on the issue of ownership of guns. And I think we need a good voice outlining the real intent of our forefathers in the establishment of the Second Amendment. That issue has been mishandled, I believe, by the Biden administration. It's unfortunate, but we have to deal with this president for another couple of years. That's all the more reason that we need a strong voice balancing that persuasion.